Today we're going to be showing you how to install the AdMore LED light kit for the GV V37 side case. The V37 is a relatively new product for GV, and this light kit is a very new product for AdMore lighting. This specific install will be done on an FZ07. Anytime you order from AdMore Lighting, you can expect to receive a very clean, well put together package. When you open the box, you'll notice there's a plastic bag inside. This plastic bag contains all of the wires and lights that you will need to carry out this installation. Inside your kit, you will have the physical LED light strips that will be going inside your case, an 11mm drill bit, Positap connectors along with an information sheet on how to use them, adhesive wire mounts, and a Ziploc bag with all the wires that you will need. There are 3 cables in the bag, 2 of which are identical. This end of the identical cables connects to the LED light strip, while the other end is routed through a hole from the inside of the case to the outside of the case. One end of the remaining cable has bare wires. These wires are to be connected to the bike, while the other end is split into 2 connectors. One will go to each side case. Now we can start to disassemble our V37 side cases. The first thing you should do is remove the 2 screws holding the lid support cables. This allows the case to open all the way, and it makes it much easier to work when the case lays flat. Next, you're to remove the 4 screws in the center of the inside of the lid. Once you've done this, move on to removing the 12 screws along the inside perimeter of the lids. Once all of these are removed, it will allow the outer shell of the case to slide right off, and now you have access to your light inserts. You need to drill a hole towards the bottom of where your light strip will be in order for the wires from the light strip to run to the inside of the case. We discovered that a 7mm drill bit gets this job done quite well. Possibly the most important part of this installation is deciding where on your cases you want these lights to be. Now, we discovered through trial and error that the best place for these lights to be is as far to the inside of the case as possible. Now, the reason for this is because of the geometry of the case. If you were to place the lights a little bit farther outside, it forces the lights to be directed outward rather than backward, which ideally you want these lights very visible from the rear. Before sticking these lights to the case, be sure to clean the surface with alcohol. Alcohol will get rid of any sort of oil or dirt, anything on the surface, and it dries quickly. So get some rubbing alcohol, clean the surface. This will make sure that your adhesive works properly. When you're first putting the lights on the case, just lay them on there. Don't apply too much pressure. That way you can peel it off and reapply if you aren't 100% satisfied. But when you are absolutely certain that this is where you want them on the case, press down with a lot of force. That way it will stay there and never move. Once you have your lights where you want them, you can grab your plastic insert and lay it over top just to see where the lights line up with the insert. There are a couple things I'd like to note. There's a silver insert inside the red lens that we decided to completely disregard for our installation. The light looks just as good without it. It just kind of takes up space and makes things more difficult. We decided to stick the lights to the case itself rather than the insert. And if you're going to do this, follow this line. Line up the edge of the LED strip with this body line of the case, and you should be good to go. Now that the placement of the lights is out of the way, we can put the outer shell of the case back on and replace the 4 screws in the middle and 12 screws on the perimeter, as well as the 2 screws holding the lid support cables. You'll need to drill another hole on the inside of the case. This time, use the 11mm drill bit supplied to you by AdMore Lighting. This hole will be used to house the male connector. We decided to drill this hole near the bottom of the case. The reason for this is because it's a flat surface and the male connector will rest very well right there. As well, the bottom of the case is the deepest part of the case, so the male connector does stick out a little bit on the inside of the case, but it won't affect how much the case can hold now that it's in the deepest part of the case. Now that your hole is drilled, you can take the male connector from the inside and slide it through to the outside. Now on the outside of the case, you can put your rubber washer on first, and then take the nut and tighten as tight as you can with your fingers, and you should be all set. You can now plug in the other end of the cable to the LED lights. Now when you plug these in, make sure your color wires match up. As you can see, we have black on top, red in middle, and yellow on the bottom. Make sure these match up. It does make a difference. AdMore supplies these adhesive wire mounts, and these are great. If you think about it, you have wires inside your side case now. If you put things in and take things out, you run the risk of something getting caught on that wire and pulling it, maybe damaging a pin, or worse, maybe cutting the wire. You don't know. So you want to get these things out of the way so you can still use your side cases without running the risk of damaging something. So you get 6 of these mounts total. That's only 3 per case, so use them wisely, but use them however you see fit. Just get the wire out of the way so you can use your side case without something bad happening. Make sure you can open the case all the way and make sure you can close it, and you'll be good to go. Okay, now you're ready for the fun part, the wiring. I know it looks a little messy, but I promise it's not that hard, so don't be intimidated. PosiTap connectors are extremely easy to use. The little instruction sheet provided to you by AdMore will get you more than enough information on how to use PosiTap connectors. Now you need to know what each of these colors means on the AdMore light. So, red is your running light, blue is your brake light, green is the right turn signal, yellow is the left turn signal, and black is ground. You need to match these up with the correct wires on your specific motorcycle. Every bike's a little bit different, but you can find your bike in your full service manual or just go on forums online and ask people. Somebody knows. Just make sure you attach the right wire to the right one in the bike. For example, running light to running light, brake light to brake light, etc. You'll notice in this setup that there are 2 wires going to each PosiTap connector. This is because we've had another AdMore lighting kit installed for a top case. We have a V37 top case. So that's why there's 2 wires, there's 2 kits on this bike. Now, something that should be said, but don't get confused. This is only if you have a top case that is older like we do. The V37 light kit is more than 5 years old. Because it's more than 5 years old, the wires are a little bit different. Rather than red being the running light, blue is the running light. So red and blue are switched in our case. Now in your case, if you have a newer top case light kit from AdMore within the last 5 years, your colors will be the same. Red goes to red, blue goes to blue, green goes to green. But if it's older than 5 years, then blue and red are switched up. This may or may not apply to you. I'm just saying it because it needs to be said, just to eliminate any confusion. I know it's confusing, but stick with it. You got it. Since you're going to have lights in both your left and your right side cases, there are going to be 2 wires that are going to be coming out of the bike in one way or another to connect to that male connector in each side case. Now in our case, all the wires were under the rear seat. So these wires would have to come out of the rear seat. Now, if we were to do that and rest the rear seat on top of it, then it would put a lot of pressure on it and possibly damage the wires. So we took a Dremel and cut little notches out of the plastic so that these wires could sit there without having too much pressure put on them by the seat, therefore reducing the risk of them getting cut or damaged in some way. So this is really a good way. Little Dremel tool or even an angle grinder, even though that's a bit extreme. But if you have a Dremel tool or even a little knife like this, you can cut a notch big enough just to prevent any damage to those wires. It's really a good thing to do. Once your bags are back on, you need to make sure that you plug in the bags to your bike now that it's all wired up. To do this, you plug the male connector into the female connector, and then you give it a 1/4 turn of a twist. Don't twist too much because you might strip it. It only needs to go a 1/4 turn. Now that all the notches are cut out, we are good to put the rear seat back on and make the bike look complete again with those wires coming out without having any stress put on them at all by the seat, and everything is good to go. Those male and female connectors are connected at the holes that we drilled in the side cases, and we're good to go. Our lights are installed. The lights do look really good in the side case. Now, these lights include your running light, your brake light, and whenever you first pull in the brake light, it does a little flash, which is very nice for some visibility when you're braking. Your turn signals are amber. It's a little bit hard to see through the camera lens. Camera doesn't pick up the color quite great, but turn signals and flashers are an amber color, which is an awesome feature for these lights. If you're looking to get this light kit for the V37 side case yourself, you can find it on AdMoreLighting.com. And if you have a top case that you're also looking for lights for, AdMore Lighting has a great selection of light kits for different top cases. So maybe your top case is in this list and you can get lights for your top case as well as your side case. If you have some other kind of side case, AdMore Lighting has different light solutions for a variety of side cases as well. So be sure to go to AdMoreLighting.com and check it out.